Welcome to the Bowers Museum. I'm Lynn Liu, and I'll be guiding you through a virtual highlights tour of California Bounty, Image and Identity, 1850 to 1930. This peek into the exhibition will only scratch the surface, and we encourage you to visit on-site soon to enjoy the full wonder of this immersive experience. During your visit, you will also have access to 8 other permanent collection galleries, showcasing treasures from around the globe, as well as our current featured exhibitions, which are created in partnership with other world-class institutions. Visit bowers.org for tickets and to start planning your trip today. We all know California has long resided in the American imagination as a land of promise, opportunity, and abundance. But you may be surprised to discover this idyllic image was not built by happenstance. In fact, the arts played a significant role in the shaping and dissemination of California's branding. This exhibition looks at the ways artists responded to the promotion of California's bounty and diversity through 3 artistic genres: portraiture, still life, and landscape. Some of the artists featured in this tour consciously or unconsciously capitalized on the dominant cultural narrative of the time, while others turned their backs on it entirely. Portraits, the first section of the exhibition, showcases California's developing identity as well as the ethnic diversity of its people. The state's art and culture are distinctive due to its proximity to and shared history with Mexico and its position on the Pacific Rim. The earliest portraits from California are of leading members of the important Rancho period families, such as Henry Penelon's equestrian portrait of Don Jose Andres Sepulveda, painted circa 1856. Sepulveda was famous for his generosity and his sizable stable of racehorses. Sitting astride a horse on a silver-appointed saddle with one hand holding the reins and the other at his hip, Don Jose wears an elegant black riding outfit edged in red. The portrait is an insider's view of California culture at a time when Booster's promotional literature, intended for Eastern U.S. readers, more often portrayed menacing riders reining in frenzied horses. It was not until the 1880s that Spanish California was intentionally employed as a theme by real estate developers. By the turn of the 20th century, boosters were fervently promoting a romanticization of regional culture, focusing mainly on California's indigenous landscape, Hispanic past, and cultural diversity. Charles Percy Austin's La Buenaventura shows a woman wearing the flounced skirt of a flamenco dancer, with Spanish tarot cards laid out before her. Austin spent much time at Mission San Juan Capistrano, where entertainments like fortune-telling and flamenco were staged for tourists during pageants and fiestas. There was, however, a contradiction that existed between the appreciation of Spanish California culture and discrimination against contemporary Mexican and Native populations. This was also true of other ethnic communities. While Alberta Binford McCloskey's untitled portrait focuses on the ornate decorative backdrop and luscious attire of the young woman, it also reveals her resignation and isolation, making it a poignant reminder of the difficulties that Chinese women endured in leaving their homeland. During the Mission period, the Spanish introduced many of the fruits that are now emblematic of California's bounty, including Valencia orange, grapes, olives, and date palms. Real estate developers extolled California's reputation as a land of plenty to attract newcomers to the Golden State. Colorful orange crate labels especially spread the vision of California as the cornucopia of the world. After moving from Los Angeles to New York in 1888, William and Alberta McCloskey successfully capitalized on the growing domestic wave of interest in California. The state's exotic appeal, along with its fruit and flowers, was the defining subject of their artistic output for a number of years. Particularly popular were their exquisite still lifes of oranges, a fruit that at the time was a rare luxury outside of California. This untitled 1889 painting by Alberta McCloskey shows oranges in various stages of calculated disarray, mostly wrapped in tissue like precious treasures. Frank Coburn's vibrant mix of abundant blooms, sunshine, and feminine beauty in Ideal California Day creates a quintessential image of a healthy California lifestyle within reach of the average person. Within 10 years of the gold rush, nurseries and flower shops had proliferated, and a vast selection of seeds and plants were available from all parts of the world. This flower stand was at the corner of Vermont Avenue near the University of Southern California. During the 1920s, unprecedented social, economic, and cultural shifts forced Americans to come to terms with a new era. While the Roaring '20s marked a period of upheaval and rapid change internationally, nowhere was this more pronounced than in Los Angeles, where the population more than doubled during the decade. The region was flush with money, the result of a boom economy fueled by the growing film industry, real estate speculation, and oil production. In Summer Night, Alois Ludwig Bonin depicts a lavish soiree in a grove of eucalyptus trees lit by lanterns, personifying the glamorous modern life of the region and the pleasures waiting for those who will visit or reside in the Golden State. Bonin lived in Point Loma in the San Diego area and helped establish the La Jolla Art Association in 1918. Most of his work burned down in a studio fire, making this painting somewhat rare. Many artists clung to romantic ideals even as their antecedents faded further into memory and the annals of history. The traditional lifestyles of Hopi and Navajo peoples captivated Swedish-born Carl Oscar Borg, who undertook a long-term project to document the tribe's daily activities before acculturation destroyed their way of life. Borg painted in Arizona and New Mexico each spring from 1916 to 1932. He made Guardian of the Trail around 1930, long after it was possible to encounter such a scene in California. Collectors avidly sought such paintings in response to the rampant social change and development of the state. While the campaigns of the Automobile Club of Southern California and the All-Year Club of the Southern Pacific Railroad portray the region as a year-round tourist mecca, artists in the region only minimally portrayed this new vision of California. Plein air painters, artists who paint in nature, generally held a bohemian intellectualism or spiritual idealism that was deeply at odds with the blatant materialism of the Southern California boom economy. For a generation of painters in California, the landscape itself symbolized the fountainhead from which sprang the bounty of California life. Still having to make ends meet, they capitalized on nostalgia for an untouched California where they found it, in affluent tourists and collectors. Edgar Payne was a highly nomadic artist and spent long sojourns in the mountainous regions of the state. South Sierra Lake is a composition built up out of broad brushstrokes and the contrast of geological masses as propounded in his book, Composition of Outdoor Painting. It shows an alpine lake surrounded by mountains completed in the wilderness around Bishop, California. A member of the Bowers Museum's Board of Directors and an artist regularly featured in museum exhibitions, Evelina Nunn Miller's paintings of the Southwest and her world travels remain a cornerstone of the museum's permanent collection over half a century after her passing. This unfinished work demonstrates her process for sketching out her compositions before painting them. William Wendt, who expressed his deeply held convictions about God and nature through his art, had a profound aversion to the seductive charm of Hollywood. Considered the dean of Southern California plein air painting, Wendt had much to do with the direction of regional art of the 1910s and 1920s. A founding member and early president of the California Art Club, Wendt was instrumental in making the club and its artists a success. He mentored artists encouraging them to extend their reach by exhibiting outside the region and by ensuring that regular exhibitions of the club were held at the Los Angeles Museum of History, Science, and Art. The Hungarian-born Joseph Kleitsch had a studio in Laguna Beach beginning in 1920 and is celebrated as a colorist and for his portraits and interiors. He's also known for a series of paintings that record the village in the early 1920s as it was about to undergo development, a sort of gentrification in which many of the early buildings would be destroyed. Coastal Scene is a small plein air painting Kleitsch made while standing on a bluff overlooking the sea and toward what would soon become the downtown area of Laguna Beach. Coast Highway, built in 1926, forever changed the nature of the little village, an augury of what would come later in the century with the advent of freeways and sprawling suburbs. We hope that you enjoyed this virtual highlights tour of California Bounty, Image and Identity, 1850 to 1930. If this tour inspired you, please consider visiting Bowers Museum in person for the full immersive experience, or participate in one of our many public lectures, film screenings, workshops, and more, offered both on-site and online. Tickets to visit on-site or participate in events can be found at bowers.org. Thank you for joining, and as always, thank you for your support.